This video is for all of my introverts out there. And if you're not an introvert, my guess is you probably know an introvert in your life. So this video relates to you too. I want to talk about things that us introverts not only can relate to, but find frustrating. I really wish I had this particular video as a reference like 10 years ago, when I really found myself struggling, when I was alone and I felt misunderstood. I surrounded myself with extroverts all the time, and I grew up in a family of extroverts. So I always felt misunderstood. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Bridget. On this channel, you're probably gonna find me talk a lot about introverts. I also talk about social anxiety, general anxiety. So if any of that interests you, make sure you check out some of my other videos. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful or useful, comment below what you'd like to see more from me, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So let's get into the video. Okay, so in no particular order, I'm going to be diving straight in. Number one, thinking people know how we feel because we live in our head. All the time. I'm constantly thinking that I had conversations with people or that my expression is visible and they should know how I feel, right? But in reality, I'm having conversations with people in my head and I'm voicing my opinion in my head and they can't hear it. It's in my head. Why would they know that? Number two, wanting to be the first person to leave the social gathering. Now, if this isn't how I've felt for the past couple of years, I don't know what is. As I've gotten older and as I've, I guess, been invited to more social gatherings, longer gatherings, bigger gatherings, whatever the case is, I find myself retreating after like the main event. I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go do this, or I'm not feeling well, or something like that. I can't take it anymore. And I don't know what it is. Am I just getting old? I don't know. But I don't really care for it. Number three, feeling misunderstood all the time. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the video. I feel like now in this day and age, we kind of have an understanding of like so many different personalities because everything's online. Like I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram. I don't really see people talking about that stuff. Maybe I'm just not in the right place, but I don't really see people talking about it enough. Like the common struggles of an introvert. This entire list makes me feel like I'm misunderstood because I don't see too many people struggling with this thing. But I know millions struggle with this type of thing. I'm guessing most of you who are watching this probably also feel misunderstood. I know I did. Number four, feeling physically and mentally exhausted after social gatherings. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes what happens is I plan a bunch of events on the weekend and I go to the first event and the second event. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to the third event. I'm like, why did I do this to myself? So I usually will complete the third event. I usually will go to all the things I said I was going to do, right? But after that, don't even look at me. Don't text me. Don't ask me to do anything for the next 7 to 10 business days because I am exhausted. I cannot do it. 5 is like directly related to that, not wanting to talk to or be around people for days on end. And that happens especially after big social gatherings where I feel physically and mentally exhausted and I just don't want to talk to anyone. And it's hard when you're living with somebody, who is especially extroverted and they do want to talk, they do want to, all the time. And it's like, please, I need some space. 6, purposefully not making plans on the weekend so that you can be alone, which I find myself doing, especially if I know I've been super busy and I know I've been attending a lot of social gatherings. So I'm not gonna make any plans and I'm gonna say I'm busy. 7, pretty much the exact same thing, is telling people you have plans when you don't. And this happens a lot more so during the week, where not only am I exhausted from work and talking to people all day, but I like having a routine. I have a very specific routine on the weekdays and I like to abide by that. So I will definitely tell you that I'm busy if I'm not. 8, this is one of my favorite ones because I just think it's so funny, but I'm sure so many people can relate to. Thinking you told somebody something when really it was a conversation you had with yourself. And this happens all the time. Sometimes I even have a conversation like as I'm falling asleep and I'm thinking about having that conversation with someone. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, okay, you know, go on with my day. I forget about it. And I'm like, I never told that person that thing. That was just something I was thinking about telling them. 9, one of my favorite ones so far. People thinking that you're an extrovert because you're not shy. And this is such a common misconception among introverts, that people think we're shy and we're awkward and, you know, we're basically a hermit, when in reality, like, we're doing things that most people do. Like, we socialize, we go to events, we have friends, and we're socializing all the time, but it's like that drains us. You know, we still have to do it because we live in an extroverted world, but we still get drained by that social gathering. 10, having to explain to others why you want to be alone. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've surrounded myself with extroverts my entire life. I'm married to an extrovert. It's very annoying sometimes to have to explain why I just would rather be alone and why I don't want to go to this social gathering because it's going to kill me and drain me or whatever. And they just don't understand because they grew up their whole life one way and that's how they are, that's their personality. So it's very frustrating having to explain that over and over again. 11, staring into space. I do this all the time, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. 12, ignoring phone calls because you just don't want to talk. I do this, I'm so sorry. Sometimes I just can't answer a phone call unless it's someone I'm really close to or someone I feel like might need me at that particular time. I probably won't answer the phone call. So I'm sorry. 13, pretty much the same thing, not responding to text right away or taking days to respond to text. Sometimes I see something and it's so overwhelming that I just can't respond to the text right then. And then I even see it later, or sometimes I don't and I just forget about it, or sometimes I see it later and I'm like, no. But the frustrating thing is, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, the longer it takes me to text that person back, the harder it is to text that person back. And it just creates more anxiety. So as the time passes, the greater the anxiety gets and the harder it is to text that person back. It's really just a vicious cycle. 14, overthinking everything. Literally everything. If I've been in a conversation with you, I'm going to think about it after I have that conversation. If I'm in a social gathering, I'm going to think about that social gathering after that social gathering. And I might even think about it for days, weeks, months, who knows? I don't know. It depends how awful it was for me. It depends how awkward it was for me. But guaranteed, I will be thinking about it. Yes. 15, struggling to get ready for some kind of event because it makes you really uncomfortable. And this is something I've especially struggled with. I've struggled with confidence, but it's something I really, really struggled with. Confidence and looks and body consciousness. And so when I was in a social gathering, I thought, okay, so what if I made myself look as great as I can to almost like distract people from what I was saying, because I was very self-conscious about that. And when I looked in the mirror and I didn't feel like it was adequate, it would be very annoying to me, like frustrating. And I would just not want to go. It was all the more reason to just not go at all or get severely uncomfortable before. 16, I find this so funny because I do this a lot. Turning around when you see someone you know or even someone you don't know because you just want to avoid that conversation. And I find myself even doing it when I walk outside my house, just taking out the garbage or doing something outside, and I see someone walking and I'm immediately like, nope, I'm gonna go back inside and pretend I'm done when I'm not. And I'll watch them pass and then I'll go back out and do the thing. Why? I have no idea. I will be cordial with you if I was put in a situation, but I might want to avoid the situation entirely. And I will probably go out of my way to avoid the situation entirely. And it's nothing on you, it's on me. 17, when people mistake your stare for RBF. People, you know, in my past and past relationships, current relationships, whatever, they say when they first met me that I was either intimidating or they thought that I hated them or like so many things, when like reality, I don't mean to do it on purpose, but when I'm like listening to somebody, I sometimes like will go into space and I'm like looking at something else and I just have this weird expression on my face. I'm concentrating, but it looks as though I have an RBF when it's not purposeful. It's just sometimes how my face looks. I don't know. Maybe I should fix that, but maybe it's why I have all these wrinkles. I don't know. It's not RBF though, but people think it is. It's not. 18. This happened actually recently. When having visitors over, like staying over your house, sounds like a nightmare. And it absolutely is. Because even if it's like a 3 or 4 day thing, it's constant. They're around all the time. They're staying at your house. So there is no avoiding it because, you know, you have to take them places. You see them when you fall asleep, you see them when you wake up. And then you have to cater the whole day to that individual. I mean, I love visitors. Like, I like, you know, here's the thing. I love the idea of visitors, but I don't actually want to have them stay at my house. I do, but I don't at the same time because it sounds like a lot. 19, when you enjoy listening more than talking. And this is something I've always pretty much struggled with. I don't know, sometimes there's like an awkward pause in a conversation and I'm just like waiting for that person to say something because I genuinely enjoy listening rather than talking. You know, I feel like I'm constantly talking to myself or like talking in my head. I prefer that. I prefer to soak it all in rather than divulge whatever the mess is in my brain. You know? 20, and this is funny, when you pray that things get canceled. This is something I've done my entire life. From like camps to sports practices to some kind of school event or to work events and friend events and any kind of social gathering that I'm anticipating to be very overwhelming. I'm like secret praying that it gets canceled. And it usually doesn't, but I'm still praying, you know? That was number 20 on the list. And these all sting so bad still. They're all so very true for me. I'm sure they sting for you too, and I'm sure you can relate to them too. But again, use this video as a resource, come back to it, go back to the funny parts if there were any for you, and just know that someone out there does relate to you. They know how you're feeling, they know what you're going through. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful, and I will see you next time.